3, 2, 1. It's the Liver Shop. Welcome back, bud.
Yep, episode 4. It's March 10th. Last night we just saw Fight Night 146, Lewis versus Dos Santos. So we'll recap that a bit. But first we're going to start with some fights that were just announced this week. Or in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But Paulo Costa dropped out of his fight with Yoel Romero.
Yeah. Third time.
Yeah, I've been really excited to see that. They did announce that Jacare Souza will be taking that spot, which is, he was kind of waiting for that spot if one of them fell through.
He had no one else to fight in the meantime.
Yeah.
Who was he going to fight?
It makes sense. So that fight's in Brazil. That'll be a good one. That card's actually shaping up to have a pretty good card. I think the main event is going to be Rose and Jessica Andrade,
yeah.
but I think that there'll be some other good fights on that card, so it'll be worth getting for sure.
Any Brazil card's fun just because it's in Brazil and they're wild. And then now you got, a Brazilian in there fighting. I mean, that's going to be a great matchup just to see everybody, the atmosphere.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be a good fight. I would rather see Paulo Costa, another Brazilian, in that matchup in a fight we haven't seen before.
Can you believe that's 3 times that's fallen through?
No, third time?
That's the third time I read this morning.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like that Conor Diaz. It just keeps falling through because it's just bad timing.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see it. Hopefully it happens.
Yep.
But I'll watch this one instead. Very recently it was announced Lionheart is trying to bounce back and take that fight against Gustafsson in Sweden.
Yeah, that's a Sweden card.
Yeah, that's the fight I said last week that I wanted to see made for him coming off that fight. Well, hopefully it happens. I don't think I've heard anything that's official yet.
Well, think about this. That's good. Lionheart's coming off that fight with Jones. He took a little bit of damage, but he's recovered well. I mean, that Volkov or Ozdemir fight, his leg was destroyed, and he came back quick. Now having this fight, Gustafsson's been off since Jones. He's healed up. Anthony will heal up. These are 2 guys that already top contention can jump right back into the fighting the title again. Plus, I love the matchup. I mean, when we talked about that last week, that's a matchup I want to see.
Yeah, both of them are looking to get back into a title fight, and the only way you can do that is by fighting title contenders. I think size-wise it makes sense. I'd love to see Anthony Smith against another top fighter to see how it works, because though he lasted 5 rounds against Jones, he did lose every single round against Jones.
And Gustafsson's won.
He has won rounds.
He's won rounds against Jones.
That was years ago.
So I think, exactly. And I think that's what's going to be fun again is you got 2 guys that have already fought the champ. They're trying to get back to do it again. So there's a lot on the line for these guys, which in turn just makes it an unreal fight.
Yeah, I think if that fight happens, I'm way excited for it.
Yeah, that's going to be big. Sweet.
Another fight announced recently. BJ Penn coming back. Fight Clay Guida. I think he's on that UFC 237 card in Brazil.
Give me your thoughts on that, because that's its own topic within a topic.
I'd rather not watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
You're that off-putting just because BJ probably should have stayed retired, and Clay has been around since prehistoric time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen BJ just lose and lose and lose and lose.
And not fun losses. A heel hook to Ryan Hall.
That's bad.
To a guy that is known to only attack their ground game.
That's the first time he tapped.
Yes, that's the first time his career he's tapped. Fights before that, Yair Rodriguez, a hungry young kid coming up. I don't know why that fight ever made it. And I don't know if you remember, Dana had already told him, BJ, I don't think you should come back. Comes back anyway, fights, and in the post-interview on there when he loses to Yair's like, I think Dana was right, I shouldn't have came back. And everybody thought it was over. And then the Ryan Hall fight happens, and you know what BJ said? He says, I need to fight somebody I know I can beat, which is obviously wrong.
Who? There's no one
in that division. BJ is 40 years old. He has been an absolute legacy fighter. Everybody knows who he is. He's had monster fights, but also the fights he had were almost 15 years ago in a different UFC MMA event. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's a different sport.
And I think both guys have absolutely nothing to gain and, again, nothing to lose. It's almost a why even go do it. But same time, I hope they put on a show because Clay's on a 2-fight winning streak in a division that he's got a long time to even be his name to be considered. And then BJ's just out of the woodwork, just making fights to make fights.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he's... I mean, not that I'm hoping that... I guess... I'd like to think that he is just trying to get a win before he retires.
I think that's a lot of what it is.
Yeah, and he just wants to go out on a win, and it just sucks that he has to keep going back to the well for it because it's gonna be tough to get a win.
Yep.
But I don't understand why the fight gets made. And
maybe because Clay's really exciting. I think that's why. Is Clay's a really exciting fighter, even though he loses a lot, and BJ's a name, so it's two clashes of two different realities.
Here's two classes from two different sports.
Very much so. A guy that at one point thought that they were going to fight at heavyweight, by the way.
So, Roy Jones Jr. has verbally accepted Vitor Belfort's challenge to fight a mixed rules boxing fight. Are you interested in this?
I'm not, because I get, again, a sniff that smells exactly like what we just saw in Golden Boy Productions with Chuck Liddell fighting Tito Ortiz. I do not think that is something that we need to see again, because that was a terrible, boring fight. Everyone said it shouldn't have been a fight, and it still happened, and no one was happy. I think this happens again. Roy Jones Jr., by the way, is 50 years old. Vitor Belfort has been in some of the biggest wars, biggest fights, taken damage, given damage, has been around forever. Taking steroids. He's on T-ball, so he's back on T-ball because they're probably not drug testing over in one. He looks great, but... you got a guy that is just ferocious and done crazy things in the ring. Then you got another veteran that's been around forever that's already past his prime. You're just mixing two old guys again that still have that itch to fight. When do you get rid of that itch? Honestly. Vitor left the UFC, or was basically kicked out of the UFC and went over to ONE, and now still wants to fight. I guess when you don't know anything different, you just don't see the signs that say this needs to stop.
Yeah, I wanted to see an Anderson Silva Roy Jones fight forever. That was my favorite boxer and my favorite fighter.
So why not?
I wanted to see them fight. I thought that was going to be. I wanted to see that more than I wanted to see Silva GSP back in the day. And they would always tease it.
Sure.
And
it was an exciting fight
to me. Ever since Vitor left Anderson's camp. Yeah. And then Anderson kicked his face in.
That front kick. That's 2 front kick knockouts, by the way, on Vitor. Machida did the same thing to him on his retirement night.
But that ever since then, they've had beef, and I think this is Vitor more trying to steal that fight from Anderson than it is an entertaining fight.
It's hard to get excited about it.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it. Roy Jones Jr. needed to stop fighting so many years ago.
50 years old.
Yeah, he's been taking fights for years that he shouldn't be taking. So I don't want to see him take another fight.
This guy's 7 years younger than my dad. Should not be in a ring, especially with an MMA fighter.
The other thing is, he said he's going to fight before, and I don't know how real this is.
Yeah, I agree. So
that'll take us to last night.
Yeah.
The first fight we want to talk about from last night featured Maurice Green from the most recent, season of The Ultimate Fighter, and Jeff Hughes. And Maurice Green did not look the same as he did on The Ultimate Fighter.
I'm going to say the Dunkin' Donuts mixed with Bud Fat, mixed with a lot of cigarettes, did not help the frame of Maurice, because I'm pretty sure Maurice was close to a six-pack at a heavyweight on The Ultimate Fighter, and I didn't think he looked good. I didn't think he looked prepared, but the guy's got a monster hand, so I mean, in that division, anyone's out. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
He threw on some weight.
Man, yeah, he had to cut. I don't know. I mean, he weighed at 264 and a half, so whatever he weighed,
he was up probably
cut to
280s.
265. Yeah. I don't know.
That's a big boy. But he's very tall, too. I mean, he's 6'7", so he's got kind of a Struve situation. You're going to have a lot of weight.
Right. He's a big guy. He looked all right.
He's nowhere near the heavyweight caliber there at all. But also, this is a guy that just came off The Ultimate Fighter losing twice in a row. So, I don't know. I think with him, he's got some time, but... And funny thing I didn't know, he's already fought Jeff Hughes in another organization.
They were talking about that during the fight.
And I heard it last night.
It was a 25-minute fight.
I did not even know that. So these guys already knew each other, knew how they fought, and it was probably a completely different fighter compared to back then, even though it wasn't that long ago. It was in 2018 also. So it's kind of cool to see two guys that just fought recently within a year.
Did you agree that the decision?
I don't.
No?
I don't. I honestly think Jeff Hughes looked better and landed more significant shots, but also, if you're split decision in the heavyweight, that means neither guy really did a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody. I mean, I don't think anybody did anything outstanding to where you absolutely won that round or you absolutely won that fight. But that's how the cards go. But good for Jeff. I mean, that's definitely going to help his career, beating a guy that's, could have ran up the ranks.
Yeah, good start to the night for me.
I like
that was
that.
the first
Yeah.
fight
It was entertaining.
I started watching. After that, we saw Matt Schnell tap out Luis Smolka.
I didn't see that coming. I saw on your predictions that you had that, which, I mean, hell, right away. But, yeah, you had him decision. I mean, that sub. What did you think about that fight? And I want to get in a little bit about Schnell and Smolka.
I thought it was entertaining. I thought a lot of the fights last night were teetering.
Yes.
Like to where they looked one-sided one way and then finished a different way.
Exactly.
I thought this was another one, but there were some quick finishes.
Yeah.
Some surprising finishes. Some that caught me off guard. I just thought that overall it was a pretty good entertaining night of fighting, and this was a good way to start the entertaining part of it.
A lot of surprises. And for people that don't know, Luis actually had fought in the UFC earlier in the flyweight division. And his first opening fights were against Rob Font, Hector Sandoval. He lost both of those. Matt Schnell did. He fought Hector Sandoval and Rob Font. But Smolka came in as a bantamweight now. He'd actually been released by the UFC, and I did not know this. He had 4 losses in a row, and apparently he admitted he was blacking out drunk every night, and his coaches were finding him. And he was just going into practice hungover all the time, like not preparing. They're like, every fight he could have won if he would have prepared better.
Wow.
Apparently he had a drinking problem really bad. Was released when the flyweight division started vaporizing and Dana was cutting everybody under the sun. Re-signed him as a bantamweight and said, if you clean your shit up, we'll bring you back. So he had a win out the gate, back in with a submission armbar, and then got this fight with Matt Schnell. But I think Schnell's experience is just the reason that fight came down. I mean, I think his jiu-jitsu, and he transformed back and forth between a triangle, an armbar, and a Kimura on Smolka several times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his ground game and his jiu-jitsu was good. I think it just overwhelmed Smolka. It could have went the other way, too. Smolka could have – he's very good on the ground, too. I just think Matt Schnell was very sharp, and he's already fought some big names out the gate. Everybody knows Rob Font's coming up the ranks quick. That was his first debut in the UFC. So he's fought some tough guys. He's on a 3-fight winning streak now. That's a good move in the flyweight, which was a bantamweight fight for him. He normally fights at flyweight.
Yeah, entertaining fight. Hopefully we see more of both of these guys.
Yep.
Chick fight.
Yeah, your favorites.
Yeah, Kanitskia beat Marion Reneau by decision.
By decision, yep.
I believe unanimous decision.
Yes.
But she got her face was messed up.
She broke her nose.
Yeah.
I said it. I watched her in the fight. My wife was watching with me, and I said, "Ooh, that girl just broke her nose." She's like, "Really?" And I said, "Look," and it was just in like a perfect little side L, and that was a bad punch. That was a stiff jab, and I honestly thought when her nose broke and the blood started coming, I'm like, she's going to be concerned about that. But she rode it out. Another fight, kind of like we said, a lot of surprises. That could have went either way. What I have to remember is Yana entered the UFC fighting Cyborg. They signed her and said, here's your first fight. Oh, by the way, it's against Christy Cyborg. I don't know if you know her. She's just an absolute animal and a freak. Good luck. Came back, fought Landsberg after, got another decision. Unfortunately, a lot of women fights, you're going to have these decisions because they did trade back and forth. They got bloody, they got beat up. But Yana showed a lot of heart through that because I'm going to tell you right now, if someone broke my nose, I'm like, dude, just take it. I mean, that's tough chick right there. That's going to help her a lot because that's now a 2-fight winning streak in the Bantam. There's not a ton of bantamweight fighters, so every win matters a lot for the women. Reneau, I think that hurts her a lot, but at the same time, there's not as many fighters in there, so she can come back. She lost to Kat. She lost from Kat Zagano, which is not an easy fight. Had that last night, they could have won either way. One more win, she could be right back into another person to talk about.
Right.
Good fight. Good fight.
After that, we had Anthony Rocco Martin beating Sergio Moraes by decision again.
Entertaining fight. A lot of trading back and forth. What did you think of that fight? I mean, have you watched either of those guys much?
So I thought Sergio Moraes was going to try and get a hold of him and submit him, and that's what I was expecting
Brazilian
to happen,
background.
to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah, and I haven't seen Sergio Moraes win very much lately.
No.
I feel like he's lost a step. He's not what he used to be. And it's not the same quality of win as it used to be.
He's an older fighter too.
Yeah.
He's 36 years old, even with a Brazilian background. That's in that division. When Father Time catches up, that's a tough break because that welterweight division, as we've talked about, is very murderous.
I probably thought this was the least entertaining fight of the night after I started watching.
Here's my thing is I really like to watch Martin a lot because, one, he's been around a long time. He's kind of a veteran. He's really nasty with a lot of leg kicks, a lot of strong punches. If you've noticed, he's been in the UFC a good time and fought a lot of big guys. You know, Benil Daresh, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, that fought last night. Jake Matthews, the Celtic kid, that's another big name that he had a win over. He lost to over Mercer, which Alex Hernandez beat, so those are two top guys in the division. He's fighting the cream of the crop, and that win last night helped him because that's a 4-fight winning streak. Morales, unfortunately, that is not going to help his case because he's an older fighter, a loss to that. I just don't know in the welterweight at 36 right now with Sergio coming off a loss if he ever comes back and catches up quickly. I think that's a huge win for Martin with the 4 fights in a row, like I said. Maybe one more fight, he can be moving up to a little bit bigger guys to test him a little bit because he's already been tested before and lost, but it's been earlier in his career. So I think that could really help. And he's young. He's 29 years old.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for Martin to keep moving up, but I don't think Sergio is going to be contending.
Here's something that I looked about Sergio. He fought a Ben Saunders who's been around a long time and fought a lot of guys, so he's very weathered. Tim Means, who's also on the card last night that we're going to talk about. He's beat some guys, but he got absolutely starched by Kamaru Usman. That's a different caliber of fighting for a guy. So if even
that's
those wins,
like Kamaru Usman's only knockout is like
true. He's a decision master. I know.
I just think that the fact that Moraes is the only person that Usman's been able to knock out, speaks to Moraes.
Yes,
that.
He's
there to get hit. I don't know. I don't think he's got a whole lot moving forward.
Well, when you're beating two guys that are basically going to be either retired or out of the UFC in under 2 years, it's hard to really count that win as a win. I mean, I'm not taking away from Morales, but good fight overall. I agree with you. It wasn't the most exciting, but there was some trading that at least kept you entertained.
Right. That fight was followed by Amari Akhmadov defeating Tim Boetsch, and that also went the distance.
And a lot of distance fights last night, which is good and bad. Some people always want to see the knockouts, everything else, but you have to remember, too, is that goes to show the caliber of some of the fighters that they may dance a little bit different together, or they just may be really tough. For anybody that knows the name Tim Boetsch, he's been around a long time. He's had a lot of comeback wins, a lot of fun wins. I did not know this, but I was assuming it was going to happen recently. Tim Boetsch, 38 years old. That was his retirement fight last night. That sucks to go out on a loss because it was only 2 losses in a row now. Anthony Carlos Jr. was the one previous. That's a big fight. He did knock out Johnny Hendricks with a head kick. The problem is that's when Johnny Hendricks was not Johnny Hendricks. He had lost a lot of power, accuracy. It was not the same fighter. If that happened 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's huge. He's fought a lot of tough guys in the division a long time, and I got to say, Tim Boetsch is always entertaining. I hate to see him go out on a retirement fight losing, but I was very impressed with Omari, and I wanted to ask what you thought about him now coming into the division, if he's going to make some stomps.
I don't know. He was asking for
a little greedy on the call-outs.
What did he call out?
I think...
He said he deserved to be ranked, and he wanted a top 10 opponent.
I think he said he wanted to be ranked, and he wanted to fight somebody top 10 instantly. And I'm like, I get it.
That's a bit of a leap, I think.
Well, here's the reason, and everybody's obvious on it. He's not fought any names that anybody knows, even Tim Boetsch. Okay, Tim Boetsch just retired, so you beat him, but you beat him unanimously on a decision, so you didn't stomp him out. You had a draw earlier.
He lost to Sergio Moraes, who we were just talking about.
And we just talked about Sergio Moraes, so he's fighting guys that are maybe on the way out or not really that high caliber. And what have we said this whole podcast season? The welterweight pool is just filled with blood because everyone's murdering each other and replacing each other. So, I think it was a greedy call out. I also think he needs one more fight with a guy that maybe is trying to come in contention. But I think also what fuels that, this guy's been around a while. He's fought since 2013 in the UFC, but he's not had the greatest track record, man.
Yeah, the quality of his wins is not there.
No, I'm sorry to say, this doesn't always happen in that division, but he is probably one of the least entertaining welterweights. Really. I mean, but he looked good, very in shape, solid guy, threw a lot of jabs, did a lot of pressure. Tim took him down. He took Tim down. Just the overall volume is basically what Omari just finished up the game. He just touched him up until it was over and got the decision.
Yeah, didn't get the finish. No, I don't think either of them were really in trouble. There was always the threat.
The threat was there,
but
Tim's hard
overall,
to put away.
It was just points.
Yeah, Tim's hard to put away.
And it was all right fight to watch. That fight was followed by Beneil Dariush submitting Drew Dober.
Yeah.
And that was a back and forth one because Drew Dober looked great.
He's been looking good. He's been
early
looking
on.
good. I thought, honestly, with Dober, I did not pick him to win that fight, but I have liked him recently because he is a fresh young kid in the division. But on the other hand, I like Beneil Dariush a lot. And I know I've talked about this. Beneil Dariush has a ton of fundamentals. And I think what really put a dark cloud over him is when he got knocked out on that starch punch by Alexander Hernandez, who just fought Cowboy and lost to him. Reason that is because he was coming up the ranks to basically his worst loss was Edson Barboza. He had a draw against Evan Dunham. That didn't help because Evan Dunham has been in the division forever. If he would have won against Alexander, we'd be talking different tactics. He wouldn't have been seeing Drew Dober. He would have been seeing a top 7, 8 guy.
Edson Barboza's not a bad loss.
No, that's what I'm saying. He didn't have any bad losses until he lost to Alexander Hernandez because no one's going to complain about the Edson Barboza loss. But I think that win last night shows that he's back in the game. Drew's going to be around a while. I think Drew's got a lot to prove. You know, he had a 3-fight winning streak coming into this. Yeah, John Tuck, I'm not really big on him with that win. He's got 2 decisions and KOs, but Dober is a fun guy to watch. And Beneil Dariush is so high caliber on the ground and everything else. I think that was a great fight to show, hey, just because you get knocked out once doesn't mean your career's over. You can come back.
I thought that was a fantastic fight.
Yeah, a lot of trading.
Yeah, he was getting Drew Dober looked like he was unloading on Dariush, and then he got a hold of him.
Yes,
and got the submission
Great jiu-jitsu.
in the first round, wasn't it?
I believe.
Oh, it was round 2.
Round two.
Yeah,
but
round
here's
2.
the thing: is they talked about. I listened to a couple people talk during the fight and after. He went from a Kimura into an armbar. So he was trying everything he could to just get Dober in an uncomfortable position until he could submit, which he did. He did not give up on the ground game. Dariush could have got up and kept trading with Dober. I don't think he wanted to do that. I think he realized that was his weakness, and he said, I'm going to prance on this now. And I think it was great because now you got a 2-fight win streak here. Dober broke the 3rd strike winning streak that he had. Now he's got to go back in the line and see what's up. What do you think moves now for Dariush?
I'm not... Honestly, I don't know at what point he gets into...
Because that's a tough division to jump into right now.
I don't have anyone in mind.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing on that fight is because these guys have already fought guys that have already blown past them and gone up the ranks, and now they're all contentions like the Edson Barboza fight and stuff like that. I think you almost have to still fight somebody that's maybe... There's a perfect example. Dan Hooker comes off that loss to Barboza. Yeah. Maybe give him Dan Hooker because Dan Hooker fights completely different than Dariush, but he's still a very entertaining fighter to watch, and Dariush has got more technical skill. Let him go in and do that because Hooker and Barboza just wanted to trade and see who folded first. Let's show and see if Dariush can bring a more technical field into the lightweight division besides just banging, or maybe even give him a Francisco Trinaldo. There's another guy that's out of the top 15. I agree with you. I don't think he fights even a top 15 guy, but if he beats a guy right on the cusp, jump him up to that 12, 13 spot real quick.
12, 13 in that division is tough.
Well, it is, but here's the thing. Charles Oliveira...
Alex Hernandez, he just lost to.
Well, that's true. You can't really count Nate Diaz because Nate Diaz hasn't fought since I got out of high school because his last fight was Conor McGregor. After that, you have James Vick, who just lost to Paul Felder, 2nd in a row. I don't think he should be fighting anybody in the top 15. He should probably drop out of the top 15. Charles Oliveira is on a ripping streak right now, but he's on a ripping streak of old guys. Clay Guida, you got Miller in there, Tamur. He could jump up the ranks, but I don't even think Dariush needs to fight him. I think outside the 15, prove yourself to get back in and be ranked, because he was ranked when Alexander beat him. Let him back into the area. Let's go see if you can come up. But Dober, I think it's going to take 2 more fights till he's fighting top 15.
Okay. That fight was followed by Blagoy Ivanov and Ben Rothwell. And Blagoy Ivanov won by decision.
Yes.
I cannot believe that fight went to the distance. I thought for
the
sure.
So many heavyweight fights last night.
And there's a couple fights where the winner of this fight, their face, I'd love to see today.
Oh, there's some hurting people woke up this morning. What do you think about that? With especially what we talked about last week, that has been Rothwell's return since 2016 when he lost to Junior Dos Santos in another decision, but that was a 5-round decision.
Yeah.
What did you think of Ben, first off, how he looked, coming back, being older?
I think he looked all right.
He looked in shape.
Yeah, I thought he looked. I think he looked on point. I thought that this was a fight where if you watched 15 minutes of fight and you scored who won this 15 minutes of fight, you would score Ben Rothwell the winner.
100%.
But the way it's broken down, the way the
pointing system is
the current point system, you have to score. You're scoring winners per round. You're not scoring Ben Rothwell a 10-8 round in that third round.
No.
And so though Blagoy Ivanov won the first round, the second round was close. So maybe he wins that one, and then Ben Rothwell certainly wins the last round. He does the most damage you can. I mean, Ivanov's face immediately after the fight was terrible. I'm sure today
he's hurting.
A different color.
Yeah.
And I think that it's tough to say that to someone who sits down and doesn't know anything about the sport that he wins the fight.
Yeah.
And that there's some imperfections in the way that it's scored right now. But I think that Rothwell looks good enough to win that fight for sure. Yeah. So I don't think that his years off for the suspension has been detrimental to where he is right now.
Yeah. I think that's a good assessment. I talked about before. I was really worried about Rothwell's ring rust just because of how long. Because in that division, at one point, that was a very scary guy in that division. But also, like I've talked about before, he was fighting different caliber fighters back then. He was already ahead of the game. So coming back now with this division that's expanded and had so many newcomers and upcomers, it was a huge test. I thought Ben looked great. He looked good in shape, good movement. What I loved about Ben, he walked Agenor down the whole time.
He was always on the aggressive.
Walking down, always pressuring him, and I think that's why a lot of people were like, why didn't Ben win that? Well, if you looked at the points, Agenov really went in and made sure to touch him, kept going. He took a lot of shots, like you said, but he made sure to get the proper touches, the impactful touches. But I'll tell you what, you got to remember, this is a guy that started in the UFC fighting Junior Dos Santos and went decision with him. Even though he's not older, but he's a guy that's going to have to take some time to really get up the ranks because there's so many guys that trade back and forth. He has fought some high-caliber fighters and looked good to go in there, win or not. So I think his career's looking up. I don't think Ben goes anywhere either. I think it's, Ben, welcome back to the division. Hey, sorry about your decision loss out the gate. Let's give Ben somebody else that's a fun fight. And then, maybe you get Rothwell fighting somebody that's a little bit lower down there. But let him get his bearings back. Put the training wheels back on. Let him get focused.
I think he'll still get fights. They need fighters in that heavyweight division.
They have to. And the thing is, Rothwell is 37 years old. That doesn't mean he can't fight for 2 more years. He could have 4 more fights in 2 more years. So that's a lot of fun fighting in that division. And like you said, anybody in that division is fun to have. I mean, his last win was over Josh Barnett by a submission. He has had some killers in his background that he has beat and lost to. So this is a guy that's always fun to watch. And like normal in the heavyweight division, a lot of KOs, and even for him, submissions. So I think it's cool to see him back, honestly. I wish I got the evil, weird laugh at the end, but we didn't get that.
Not last night.
No, unfortunately. But welcome back, Ben.
So round 1 of the Nico Price-Tim Means fight was my favorite round of the night.
I was looking forward to this so much.
That was a hell of a fight. Tim Means was touching him up in the head all the time. Open hand slaps.
Nate Diaz style.
His combinations looked slick. I was impressed. And then at the end of the first round, I thought he was going to put him away. He just kept tagging him.
He was pressure.
He wobbled him.
Yep.
And then he went for the haymaker. He slipped it, and Nico Price finished him with one blow.
Got caught.
Broke his ankle and leg when he fell.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Just because of how quick he dropped.
Yeah, the way he fell. And it was a one-hitter quitter in the last 6 seconds of the round, I believe, of the first round. And Tim Means had just laid it on. Nico Price is one of the guys from last night that he won, but his face was beat the fuck up.
He earned that one hard, and especially against a veteran like Tim Means. I mean, you brought up a good point. Tim Means is always very smooth. His mechanics and just overall the way he fights. Rogan's always said that about him. Tim Means has been in that division so long, in a division that is evolving and getting crazier and crazier and more talented. I think if that was a 5 year ago, Tim Means, completely different conversation. I think being 35 in that division, taking a lot of tough losses, he's had a lot of decisions where he's gone the distance, and he fights just like he did last night that I think it's taken away. And I'm sorry, Nico Price right now is a super entertaining fighter, another guy in the welterweight. Yeah, he just came off a loss, getting knocked out. Before then, he had the from the ground hammer fist win over Randy Brown, which Randy Brown's not a big name, but he's an entertaining fighter. Again, the more entertaining young fighters that we can have. He's 29 years old in the welterweight. Another guy that we could be talking about in a year that's up there fighting the contenders in the top 5. That was a huge win, even though it's over an older fighter. That was my favorite fight of the night. And the face-offs that they had before this fight, I knew it was going to be nuts because they were head-to-head, rubbing heads, getting into each other. Tim slapping him even in the face-offs. Just a fun fight to watch when the guys are like, fuck it, bite down on the mouthpiece, let's swing.
Yeah, this was the best 5 minutes of the night, for sure. That fight was followed by another welterweight fight. The guy with 17 names.
Oh, yeah.
Liza,
you can go with that one.
Dos Santos.
Yeah. I need a freaking translator for that.
That was a great fight. Another finish.
Yes. And something, I don't know why I have this about Curtis Millender. I have not been super impressed with him, even though he's came off a fighting streak. The reason is he beat Thiago Alves and Max Griffin, okay? Thiago Alves and Max Griffin are not your highest caliber in that weight class. We've said it over and over again, the welterweight is just top-heavy as hell. He had another win over basically another no-name. His ground game I don't like. I do not think he's anywhere prepared to have somebody that gets a hold of you and puts you down and doesn't let you swing. He's going to be submitted. I think it's going to take a long time for Miller to get where he is. This for Dos Santos last night, that is now a 7-fight winning streak. Now, granted, he's wins over guys like Max Griffin, Layman Good, guys that have just lost recently. But to have 7 fights in a row in the welterweight division, that's huge.
And Mario Aquidal's on that.
And Mario Aquidal, which is a big... So there's a lot of guys that have seen each other before, and you either pass me and go up, or I'm going to stay back here and wait till I get my turn. I think this helps him out a lot to get a good fight here to make his name even bigger. And I think he looked really sharp, honestly. I think he overwhelmed Millender to basically say, hey, I'm eventually going to take your back. That's it. I think he just played that ground game until he wore Millender down enough to say, it's over.
And I think he's marketable, too, as a capoeira fighter.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
good call.
That was always my dude in Tekken, Eddie, the capoeira fighter. Shout out to Cousin Scott.
Yep.
Trained capoeira when he lived in Charlotte.
That's right.
But it's a fun style. People love watching that style of fighting when you get to use those moves.
Yep.
And he credited his balance when he did get hit and his recoveries last night to training in capoeira.
Which you never hear.
Yeah, ever. So I think that being the capoeira fighter that's ranked in the UFC is a marketable opportunity, and I think that he's going to be another one of those guys that, man, you just line him up in the welterweight division and put him up against anyone that's got a number next to their name, and it's going to be a fantastic fight.
Well, think what you just said. His last 2 fights before this were won by a flying knee and another one with a spinning wheel kick.
Right.
That's Edson Barboza stuff. That's what people want to see on TV. You don't want to see 2 wrestlers having sex with each other. That's why nobody watches the NCAA Championship Wrestling. It gets boring. This is not boring, even with a chokeout. And the thing is, Curtis Millender, I think even if he would have won that decision or even knockout, it's not that impressive except that he snapped a guy with a 7-fight winning streak. Now you got a guy with that 7-fight winning streak that everyone's like, okay, let's see what this guy can do.
No, he was ranked. If you're ranked in the welterweight division, then it's a big deal. It's a big deal to fight him.
I just think, I don't know why I'm hating on him, Curtis. I like you as a person. I just did not think he was going to be somebody to really do anything. Mm-hmm. Now, you're going to move him up. It'll be interesting. Gunnar Nelson's fighting next week. George Masvidal's fighting. Now with Santos, he's got some guys, and Leon Edwards is fighting. Depending on how those outcomes come, he can move up and also fight a guy that if he beats the next guy, it's even a bigger jump, especially in that division. So I think that's cool. Maybe even your boy Damian Maia, that'd be interesting.
It would be interesting.
Get two Brazilians against each other. Plus, obviously they both got a ground game, but then you worry about, are people going to be bored? But
no, I don't think with that Capoeira Snyder fight.
That's crazy. I forgot all about that. That's awesome. Good call on that.
In the main event last night, Junior Dos Santos finished Derek Lewis. And that was a fight we knew was going to get finished. It was not going to go to the distance. We both picked Junior Dos Santos to win in the second round.
A TKO.
It went about how I thought, but I would like to say that Derek Lewis looked good.
He did. He looked a lot sharper, a little bit better cardio. For a guy that
much
big.
Much better than I was expecting.
Yeah, much better for that, especially with someone like Santos who's going to put the pressure on you. He's going to wear you down.
Quick high kick. He was throwing flying knees.
He threw a lot of stuff that he's not thrown in a while, and continuously throughout the fight.
He looked like to be in better shape than I've seen.
Yes.
Until he got jacked in the stomach, and I don't know what happened there. Did you hear anything afterwards?
So Dos Santos threw a spinning back kick. Heel landed directly in the gut. Derek dropped and was like curled up like, I don't know how long I can stay here because this kills, and then threw a monster bomb that clipped Santos.
How great would it have been if he knocked him out there?
Yeah. I think it was both. He was kind of faking it, but it did hurt like shit. He got that punch off, but that affected the rest of the fight after that.
But did you hear if he had a broken rib or anything?
I did not. Okay. I don't know with that. All I know is after that happened, Derek kind of went back to the old Derek. Didn't have the tank, everything else. But I agree with you. Derek Lewis from his past, and he'll tell you, he's like, I can't go 5 fucking rounds. I don't want to go 5 rounds. That last night, in 2 rounds, he looked very good. He threw a lot of bombs. Junior is just a different heavyweight to where, one, he looks a lot better. He's lighter. He's quicker on his feet. Lewis looked like he was depending too much on his power. Except in the beginning, when he was throwing those high upper head kicks, throwing the flying knees. After that, he just wanted to throw a punch because he was hurt. I think he was just hurt the rest of the fight. Santos smelled the blood, soaked in, came in quick, put him out. I mean, to see fucking Derek Lewis, somebody that big, take a punch like that and go down that quick, it shows the power that Santos still has.
Yeah, Santos looked good. Much like I thought he would. Yeah. He doesn't have bad losses. He is a top of the division fighter. I have no idea how he's ranked 8. He needs to be a top 5 for sure.
Well, he was out for a little bit, so that didn't help. And because a lot of guys got the fight while he was out. So, I mean, with him now basically being,
they threw Kane
behind Kane, Alistair Overeem, who have both fallen on hard times and both been knocked out, recently and then came back with a win. Except Kane with Francis. The guys above him are great fights, but it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test to a new pool.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't think Derek Lewis should be 3, and I didn't think JDS should be 8, so that was...
We talked about it last week when you got that fight that he had in the last minute over Drago. We're talking 2 different stories right now. If Drago would have won that fight, Drago would be 2 or 3 right now. Derek Lewis would not be ranked 3. He'd be down around 7 or 8, and he would probably be fighting somebody more like an Alexius Olenek or maybe a Justin Willis. But Derek Lewis has had big wins when he needed them.
So who do you think Derek Lewis does fight next?
Well, in my personal opinion, if he loses a fight like that to Dos Santos, he's going to drop down pretty significant. I don't know who you're going to have him fight because you have Drago that he just fought and he beat. Maybe Alex Overeem. Maybe even give him Kane because now you have Kane who came off a loss but's ranked pretty well. Derek Lewis just lost to Santos, which was kind of that ending factor. Kane, Derek Lewis, I would love to see. I still don't know if Kane's deserving to even fight Derek Lewis right now.
There's a lot of fighters who are scheduled to fight right now that I don't know. What about Ivanov?
Ivanov could be a good choice because he's available and he just had that win.
They're both coming. And he's coming off.
He's come off a loss and one's coming off a win.
Yeah, Lewis is coming off a loss, but I don't know. I think he's probably in a weight kind of place because of all the fights that are scheduled to take place.
He might want to see what happens.
Yeah.
My thing is though.
Plus, who knows what happened with his gut?
Well, yeah, injuries, let alone just coming off a fight. And it's early, it's still March, but I think the problem is I remember when Derek Lewis lost to Mark Hunt, when Mark Hunt finished him with the top elbow and everything. Derek Lewis was like, I'm going to take some time off. I need to evaluate if I want to fight and everything. Derek Lewis is not that old for that division. Derek Lewis might not want to fight much longer.
No, but he did just have 3 fights very quickly.
Yes, he did.
I mean,
yes.
he's had 3 fights since that Alexander Volkov fight.
Yes.
Is quick, so he may just want to take some time off, which
to recover.
Is probably the right move to do right now based on where the division is.
Well, and that way too.
But he is at the top of the division, and he is a draw, and
every time.
He has big fans, so he's not going anywhere. He's going to get big fights.
Did you see my balls was hot shirts that they had on TV?
I did.
And
That's
then Paul
great.
Felder had to ask if he could say it, and they're like,
Can I say this?
He's like,
I'm
yeah,
on
just
ESPN. Can I say this?
Yeah, Anik's like, just go ahead and do it. And he's like, yep, my balls was hot. And Paul, I like Paul. I think he's a great commentator, and he keeps it fresh. But yeah, Derek Lewis is a draw. So that means he's got a lot of great fights that he can hang at the top. I think Derek Lewis, if he stays in the division as long as I think he will, he's going to see a lot of these guys multiple times.
Yeah, he's going to be fighting up against the top guys.
There's going to be a lot of 2s next to his fight names. But I agree. Right now, your top 10 in that division, it is a waiting game because so many guys are fighting so much already this year. So hats off to Santos coming back. I think he is looking maybe one of the best he's looked in a long time. He's looking like his old self.
And who do you think he gets next?
Well,
he's got to be looking for someone who is a title contender.
So I got very greedy with my first. And the only reason I got greedy with it is because I do not like that Francis Ngannou fight. Because the Cain Velasquez, to me, has a huge question mark on it.
You don't think a JDS Francis Ngannou fight is?
It is. I don't like it because I would rather see Dos Santos fight Stipe again. But that's a huge jump. I know we always talk about this. The reason I say that is on paper and the background of Francis, even with 2 back-to-back wins, they may be scared that they could hurt Francis's marketability with having somebody like Dos Santos who is hungry as shit back in the division, wanting to get nuts, maybe make a monster fight and have him and Stipe because now they're looking at Santos as being their new money bag. Santos comes in and fights Stipe. He's on a 4-fight winning streak over 2 guys that were murderers in the division, Tuivasa and then Derek Lewis, who were going to be fighting for the title eventually if they kept on a winning streak they had. You jump him up to fight Stipe, there's your last cutoff to say, all right, here we go. And then guess what? Dos Santos, if you can stay healthy, and then guess what? By then, Mr. Cormier is good and healed. His hand, his back, everything's ready. Let him go fight Cormier.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with him fighting either Francis or Stipe.
And Francis makes more. And Francis does make more sense because Francis beat Curtis Blades. He beat Cain. The Cain win is what's bothering me. Does that really say Francis is that talented an all-around game compared to Santos? But Santos has gone up against Stipe before and been starched and been beaten the fuck out of. So do you give him a test one more time instead of pushing him right in like we've been talking about maybe too early, like an Anthony Smith situation where, probably should have gave you an extra fight, but it made sense at the time.
Dos Santos is a former champion. I mean,
that's the difference.
Yeah,
that's the difference is Santos has been in this game.
He's ready,
done this dance.
But I don't think that he deserves it yet. He needs a win against a top contender before he gets a title shot.
No, and that's why I'm saying that as a fan, I want to see the Stipe, but he's got to go fight Francis. And to me, that's a marketable fucking fight. You got Francis and him.
Big guys going after, I think, is going to be easy to sell.
Well, and everybody knows the name. Everybody knows Santos from the background and all the years, and now you have Francis, who's the scariest man on the planet. It's a perfect, marketable fight. Then also, you got 2 healthy guys that are ready to go bang it out. Let's have that fight about May, and we're great.
Yeah, this division's super active except for Stipe and DC.
Well, and you know what? I give it to Stipe. He is trying to sit to the side to get what he thinks he deserves.
So is DC.
And DC's doing the same. And you know
he's
what?
doing it while he has the belt.
And
though.
he
That's
is.
The difference.
That's the difference. And Stipe, we all know, is not getting any younger. So Stipe is needing to fight this year quick because if he does not, he is going to take a year absence waiting for Cormier, who could possibly retire. So at the end of the day, I know he wants that Cormier fight. If he fucks around and waits, he might have waited a year that he could have been fighting, making money, and possibly be taking a belt from someone else that's not Cormier.
Yeah. I think that Junior's next fight is going to be a contender, but I think there's so many fights you can set up right now in the heavyweight division that you could say our top contender fights, where the winner of this is the next top contender. But
throw a dart and it's a fun fight.
DC is not defending. He's going to fight Brock Lesnar. So who the hell knows? This division at the top is going to get a big logjam.
If that Lesnar fight happens, that division, like you said, is just another world. But also, does Lesnar stick around? Does Lesnar do a Lesnar, come back, try to get a belt?
No, he's coming back for a fight. He's not coming back to be a fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to happen, but
no, and
it's just going to be a money thing.
Yeah. Nice. Overall, fantastic card. And
it was a good card.
You said the best thing ever in the beginning. Surprises all over. Decision surprises, win surprises, fighting style surprises. Keeps people entertained.
Yeah, I thought it was entertaining, especially after the main card got started. I thought it was entertaining fights. Yeah. Some of them went the distance. There weren't finishes, but there was a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And overall, I thought it was a very good fight on ESPN Plus. Yep. Now we're going to continue our discussions we've been having, going down and evaluating the current states of the divisions in the UFC. Where we are right now is the lightweight division.
Yep. Another exciting division.
There's a lot of people sitting around, kind of like in the heavyweight division, waiting for the fight. And it seems like they're all calling each other out and no one's making moves. The only fights we have going on right now, scheduled in the top 15, are the interim title fight between Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier.
Yep.
And Edson Barboza and Justin Gaethje. And that fight's happening later this month.
Yes.
I'm super excited for both of them.
Oh, yeah.
The Max fight's sooner.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. The Barboza fight is sooner.
Fight's up coming on the up.
What do you think about that fight?
Barboza with Gaethje.
Yeah.
I mean, you got one guy that's throwing the strongest leg kicks in all divisions, let alone some of the highlight reels ever with Barboza. And then you have Gaethje that come over from World Series of Fighting, who puts on a show every time. We know that. We don't even need to talk about that. The thing about it is Justin Gaethje going to change his game up enough to not just go back to what he did with the Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez, where he tries to play the trade game? And when you have somebody that's as dangerous as Barboza, are you going to get put out? And then what's unfortunate, Gaethje's brought this up a lot. Am I going to retire in under 4 fights? Gaethje needs to keep winning for us fans and for UFC, because if he does not, we're going to see a guy that was basically in the UFC 2 years that put on some of the craziest shows ever, but had some bad planning.
Yeah.
I think Barboza beats the body up and the legs. Gaethje will return. I think it's one of those, who has the best strategy? Am I going to just get beat up and hopefully wear someone else down, or am I going to go for the highlight knockout? Because both of them have the skills to do it.
Yeah, because both of them are looking to do that.
Every fucking minute.
Yeah.
But that's what's fun about this fight in the lightweight, is you got two guys that it's not even about movement right now. This is a legacy fight for them, because he beats someone like Barboza, who is an absolute legend in that division, even though he's fallen on a little hard times prior with Khabib and everything. He's still winning all the fucking time. So I think that fight's entertaining. Absolutely anything can happen. I don't see that getting it out of 2 rounds, really, with those guys.
I don't think it gets to a finish, or it gets to a decision, that's for sure.
It'll be a finish,
The thing I like about the fight is both these guys are top proven fighters. They're both looking for the toughest fight they can get. And this is the toughest fight they can get. You look above this, and no one else is signing fights. I mean, Tony, no one knows why he's not fighting. He won't accept any fights. Conor, good luck getting a fight with him. Khabib's out until
end of the
November
year,
or whatever.
You got Al and Kevin Lee. Okay, Kevin Lee's coming off 3 lights, who just fought each other. You got Al Aquinta, who is waiting, which they've talked a lot that they might give Cowboy Al, which scares me as a Cowboy fan. Yeah. But Al's going to wait around.
I'd watch it, yeah.
Oh, I'd watch it every second. But the thing is, I think Al is also smart and knows his worth, just like Dustin Poirier, is he's going to sit around and wait for his proper fight. But the nice thing about this is, if Gaethje wins, he moves right up and fights Al if Al's not scheduled. Vice versa. You have Barboza win, Barboza moves up. Barboza might even fight Dustin Poirier, because he hasn't fought him in a long time. Dustin Poirier hypothetically loses to Max Holloway. He's on a loss, even though it's, from a guy from another division. Let him go fight Dustin, be that next crossover, because just like you said, above Dustin, you have Conor, which we already know the situation. Tony's sitting around deservingly. They stripped his interim. I get it. Tony's got to get
Why
fighting.
do you get it? Why do you get that they stripped his interim belt?
No, I don't agree with the stripping of it. I'm understanding why he's pissed. I agree. I get why he's sitting around and waiting, but at the same time, it sucks. But you got to do something for your worth, because at the end of the day, Tony's not getting any younger either. And I'm not saying these guys are retiring next year, but I don't want to see someone wait around a whole year and not fight. That's deserving of it. He's the number one contender.
It's better to be active. We've seen that.
Khabib's suspension fucked this division. Because this would be we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. We would be talking about what you and me argue all the time about in John Jones' situation and welterweight situation. Why are we waiting around to put guys to the side? We would be fighting Khabib. Oh, you lost. Next in line.
Yeah.
Here we go. I wouldn't argue with it.
Keep them coming.
It's the meat churner. And I agree.
He's chopping it up.
Dude, I get it. After talking about it, you want to keep entertaining fights. You want to keep going to the gate and either pass and go and not collecting $200.
Got all these guys who are just waiting for a title shot.
But
they're piling up.
Here's the thing that people talk about that we don't talk about enough. We talked about Khabib being suspended till November. You got Tony sitting to the side waiting for Khabib. You got Conor, who's not fucking fighting anybody. You got Dustin now fighting a guy from another division. That leaves you to your number 4, Alaquinta, who's not fighting, who needs to be moving into title contention. Bunch of fights we're waiting on that we don't know why they're not happening, because if they don't happen, then we got Khabib coming back in November and we start all over. But we've lost a year. So I think this Gaethje-Barboza fight might push people's feet to the fire to where we got to make a fight. These guys are ready. They're prepared. And they just fought fucking another huge name to move up the rank.
Yeah, the lightweight division, like the welterweight division, is super deep.
So top heavy.
There's a lot of entertaining fighters, entertaining fights that can be made. Like I said, the only two that have been made are Max and Dustin and Barboza and Gaethje. What are the fights you want to see made? I mean, to me, the Khabib-Tony fight has to happen. It's been teased 3 times.
It has to happen, but it's been teased so many times that just like I joked about with Cormier and Jones, I don't even want to see it anymore because I got such a bad taste in my mouth. Yes, Tony Ferguson had the flukest accident ever, tripping over a cord and blowing his knee out.
But that was just one of the times.
That was just one of the times.
Khabib couldn't make weight one time.
Tiramisu Tuesdays will get you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, but
and filming it, that's a bad look.
And that doesn't help anybody. No, fights I want to see, I've talked about it over and over again. The Conor Cowboy, I know they just had a derailment because they wanted to not have a co-main event. They wanted a main event for Conor.
I've been wanting to see that for years.
And everybody has.
Before the talk started about it.
Ever since they were bitching back and forth at each other at the press conference, everybody wanted to see that. Okay, let's take that out of contention. I want to see Tony fight maybe Dustin next. Just make it happen. And then I want to see Cowboy move up and maybe fight Al.
That Dustin loses or wins?
I'm saying in a situation whether Dustin wins or loses.
Have him fight Tony?
Have him fight Tony. Tony's been waiting there. Tony had a belt. He's got a belt that's been stripped. Dustin now gets that interim belt. It's belt against belt, even though one's not there in the next.
Dustin wouldn't have.
No, I know that. I'm saying the way it should be, because Khabib's out till November, technically Tony is the champ as far as next in line. So you got Tony. You have that. Because are they really going to book Dustin and Conor?
You're saying Dustin beats Max?
Yeah, if he does.
Yeah. Then okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because, again, we're fucked with Khabib and we're fucked with Conor because Conor, he might fight Dustin. I don't know. But they have to find the perfect card. That could be like a UFC 238, 239. You're going to have him fight Conor. You got to set it up. You got to hope it happens. So I don't like that feeling. I'd rather see Dustin move up and fight Tony and say, hey, I had the interim and I got hurt and they took it from me. That sucks. Guess what? I'll redeem myself. And Dustin, oh, congratulations. You just won a belt from a guy that normally fights at featherweight. Let's go and hash it out.
Let's go defend your belt.
No, 100%.
You just won. Yeah.
And let's go and hash it out. So, to me, both of those fights are entertaining. It's so hard to be able to say a fight that we want to see because there's 2 main guys that are actually not fighting right now. That are in the top
3.
2. Yeah, 3 basically.
4, 5, count them up. There's no one's fighting up there.
No, but okay, like I just said though, while we're waiting on that, let's get Al and Cowboy. Cowboy's fresh, he's not injured, he always is down to fight anywhere, anytime.
He wants to fight a lot.
Al always wants to fight. Al lost to fucking Khabib when he wasn't even scheduled to fight him. Al has smashed people in that division. Masvidal beat Joe Lozon. Yeah, these are guys that aren't at the caliber they are. Al's been waiting. Al's hungry. And by the way, Al's in a similar Dustin Poirier situation. He's not happy with the UFC a lot of times, so he wants to get what he can, and if you're winning, it really helps your cause to get what you want. So, again, lightweight division, make anything top 8 fighters, it's not going to be a bore. I can promise you that.
Yeah, the fight that I had been pulling to get was the Kevin Lee fight against Gregory Gillespie. And it looks like that may have fallen through.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate because I thought that would be...
You were spot on with that. That's a terrific fight to make, especially since Kevin Lee has been fighting some killers and needs to get back on his feet.
He's on three losses.
That's what I'm saying. He's got
Gregory Gillespie's not going to get him there. I think it's going to be a tough fight for him. So, yeah, I thought that would be a good one. I think I want to see Gregory Gillespie fight. His fights have been too few and far between lately, and I think he's really good. I want to give him anyone that's up there that's willing to fight him. And it looked like with Kevin, I don't know how Kevin Lee is ranked 5th. He ahead of Edson Barboza after he just lost to Edson Barboza.
You have to look at his record. You have to realize that he came out fighting guys out of nowhere and winning. His last fight was a sub against Chiesa, which was also debatable. His last win was a sub over Chiesa, which was debatable. And then you went into the fire pit. Hi, I'm Tony Ferguson, dead. Edson Barboza, good luck to you.
But he's ranked ahead of Edson Barboza.
I get that. The problem is Edson also fell on some shaky times before Khabib. Not even in the Khabib, because he was winning.
Yeah.
Edson was losing some fights. He's lost to Cerrone in the past. Granted, that was a younger Cerrone, younger Barboza. When he got in the Khabib loss, I got to give him a lot of props. He came back in and said, fuck you all, I'm back in the game. I'm still a monster in this division. Oh, by the way, Kevin Lee, I'm going to TKO you. And Hooker, you have no intestines left. By the way, who's next? Edson Barboza has been around. He's been through the trenches. That's why he has more legacy than Kevin Lee that came out of nowhere. And really his only big win is a controversial sub over Chiesa. And then fought 3 killers in a row.
Overranked.
I really think it's a perfect example of overranked. And
that's why I think Gregory Gillespie being outside the top 10 right now, I think he's 11. Fighting him would be a good matchup.
Do you think there's any impact also that Kevin Lee is more marketable than Edson Barboza because he speaks very well, he dresses flashy, he gets in your face, he talks shit just like he did with Chiesa in the press conference.
Essentially.
Edson Barboza is all about fighting, has no real personality for marketability. And also, Kevin Lee is 26 years old. He's going to be around this division a while unless he just gets starched in the next 4 more fights. It's somebody that they can jump on. But I agree. I think this division changes in the next month, that we're having the same conversation just with different names, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Anyone you're looking to see this in this division this year?
Out of the top 10 or in the top 10?
Anyone that you're looking to make moves.
I definitely think Gillespie. I think not just the win streak, because I know some of the names aren't the giantest. I like his fighting style. I think Paul Felder also. I think Felder has not destroyed everybody, but I think he's found his right weight class, which is definitely the lightweight. I don't think he ever needs to fight at welterweight like we joked about with Mike Perry. That was a smaller, similar fighter to him. I don't think he ever needs to go to featherweight. That's a terrible cut for him. But that win over James Vick, that said a lot. Vick had come off a loss prior to Gaethje, which was obviously an upcoming contender. I think Paul wins one more decent fight. Maybe Paul fights. I would really like to see Paul fight Alexander Hernandez. Fight a guy a little bit lower than him. Say, hey, this guy was ripping up the ranks. I'm going to fight him now. I don't see Paul fighting like, Pettis is going to fight Wonder Boy, so he's not even going to be in the division for a while. Gaethje and Barboza, I think that's way too big of a jump for Felder. I think Felder stays at 10, fights a guy a little bit below him, gets his bearings, lets Gillespie get another win and move up. Or maybe you let Gillespie and Paul Felder fight it out between 10 and 11 and just say, hey, next win of either of us. But I agree with you. I think Gillespie deserves a guy in the top 5. I do. Anybody else in that division you see kind of sneaking out, being kind of, in the shadows?
Well, I think there's a lot to watch this year in general.
Yeah.
Whether or not Conor gets a fight is a big deal. I think what Al does, he's looked good of late. He's got some good wins, not very many losses. I'm thinking one thing I've had on my mind about this division is Tony had that interim belt.
Yeah.
Do you think he ever gets a title fight?
Not the way it's going. I think the only way is if he fights Dustin and beats Dustin, and it's automatically known that you fought Dustin middle of the year. Okay, so we got the Max Holloway fight. We know that. Dustin wins or loses, he's got to fight somebody again, unless he leaves the UFC, which I don't see happening. By the time him and Tony fight, and let's say nobody gets injured, you're going to have a fight coming into 2020 or right on the cusp of 2019 ending that you can fight Khabib again. Ferguson. It's all timing in this division because, again, Conor is fucking us by not fighting anybody. Khabib is fucking us by being suspended.
Do you think Tony fights before Khabib comes back?
I would love to say yes. I don't know who he's going to fight besides Dustin.
I think if he turned down this fight against Max, who the hell is he going to fight?
That's my point. Is he turned down the fight with Max because he didn't think it was worth...
guy that fights 10 pounds lighter than you.
I think he thought it wasn't worth his worth. I think he wants to say, I'm in this division, I'm a name, I had an interim belt, who is going to fight me that also? I think he's waiting for someone like Dustin that says, I have a belt now. You either take it from me or I'm going to pass you, and then when I pass you, I wait for Khabib to return. But my worry is, does Khabib return December or January of 2020 or 19?
No,
or does he wait till...
Probably November this year. 19,
maybe.
November 19.
What if Khabib says, fuck it, I don't need to fight right now. I might wait till 2020, start new. That is such a long time off. And the thing is, Khabib is the same age as Conor. They're all in their prime right now. Make these fights when you can. So that's what I'm saying is Tony may know that. Tony may say, you know what? I think I want to make this fight. I want to make this fight with Dustin, but I'm going to sit to the side like we always talk about. But besides that, man, everything under number 7 is an absolute blast to watch. So at the end of the day, we may not be seeing a lot of title fights or fights that are going to put in a new champ. We're going to see some entertaining lightweights. And there's a lot of guys that are coming up that no one fucking knows about that are going to do some things. Dan Hooker. Yeah, Barboza beat you. You were on a 4-fight winning streak. Dan Hooker could be a guy that we're talking about number 7 in 2 fights from now. So, again, it's a change of hands in this division because at the top, there's a standstill.
Yeah, I'd like to see that standstill
move
fixed. Yeah, because this is a fun division, and there'd be, if the champion was active, and maybe if the champion was not Khabib, there'd be a lot of changing of hands of the title. It'd be passed back and forth quite a bit. Khabib's so good, and he's not active right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's waiting to fight him, and it's just slowing everything down, which sucks.
Yeah. To his own fault, but at the same time, I think his suspension was very greedy. I think that was way over. I mean, what did he have to pay? $500,000?
Something stupid.
And then obviously he's out to November. That's debilitating to somebody, especially a guy that's stomping people in that division.
Yeah.
So
at the end of this year, do you think Khabib's coming back before that?
I think if the right fight matches and the right people are talking, you have Khabib fighting a New Year's fight.
New Year's.
I think he fights either Tony, I don't think it's Conor, or some stupid way, Dustin wins, gets that interim, beats Tony throughout the year, Khabib fights Dustin. I think still, no matter what happens, Khabib goes into 2020 with the belt still around his neck.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a chance he fights Max on that fight, but I think that Khabib is the champion after his first fight back.
It's really hard to... I hate to say that when you're just so confident about a guy. Khabib's game overall on the ground and just pressure. At this weight class, it is so hard. Edson Barboza is a perfect example of how hard it is to deal with another caliber fighter that overwhelms you to where, my legs, my arms, all my moves, all my jiu-jitsu I can't use because right now I'm trying to survive. And I think that's why Khabib is just... nowhere situational, not thinking that he won't be the champ in 2020.
Yeah, I think he's the champ until we see someone level up, which happens. I mean,
it does.
These guys make strides.
It does.
It happens. But right now, Khabib's the king of the lightweights, and we can't wait to see him fight again.
Yep. A lot of time for things to change, though. That's the good part.
That is right. And that'll take us into the featherweight division.
Your division. Your favorite division.
No, I don't know about that, but my favorite fighters division, that's for sure. So yeah, Max Holloway, who we were just talking about, is the champion right now. His next fight is scheduled to be a lightweight fight. But the number one contender right now, Jose Aldo is scheduled to fight Alex Volkanovski. And though I was pushing for an Aldo Ortega fight,
sure,
this fight's going to be fantastic, and I would assume that the winner of this is right back in contention. Yeah, for the title.
It was a wonderful matchup. They did it smart. I mean, Alexander Volkanovski retired Chad Mendes, who was no joke in that division. So all he has after this fight is to move right up the ranks, because you have Frankie Edgar that came off a loss to Brian Ortega, then won against Cub. You have Ortega, who beat Frankie, who lost to Max. Everything falls in line. Instantly, if Alexander wins this, he's going up to fight. Same thing with Aldo. He's already at number 1, so there's no one else that I need to fight except Max. Mm-hmm. Win or lose, and I know we keep bringing this up, but win or lose to Max on that lightweight fight against Dustin, he is still the champ. He is still the guy to come and try to take the belt from.
Right, and he's already got wins against Aldo and Ortega. So,
yep.
And so other people are going to need to prove themselves. It's going to be hard for them to get right back in with one win as well.
Proving is the word. That is the word of that division.
But if Volkanovski can get this win, it is huge. I wouldn't bet against Jose Aldo, to be honest.
I wouldn't, especially after the Moicano fight, because he showed a younger fighter. He showed a younger fighter, hey, I'm going to stop you from moving around the cage by a shot, and then I'm going to tee you up on that shot with everything I have. And the thing that people forget about, Jose Aldo used to win a lot of fights by breaking your legs down to where you did not have your fundamentals. Jose's gotten away from that, but I actually like it because he is now chipping away at parts of your game that you usually do well. Jeremy Stevens, he took him out with a liver shot. Then he goes to Moicano and lets none of Marcano's aggressiveness come out because Aldo is overwhelming him. Jose has so many tools that Jose could go into a Max Holloway fight that would be his 3rd fight against Max and go, all right, I fought you twice, I figured you out, welcome back to the Jose show.
I don't know, man.
Not saying he beats him. I'm saying that he might give Max the toughest fight of his life besides the Dustin fight because he has fought him twice. But again, this is a division that you're up at the top and you're trading back and forth with the same 3 guys because you see each other all the time. Alexander Volkanovski can change that. He can be the new face, the new name, and possibly someone that you're talking about that's going to fight fucking Max Holloway in 2 more fights.
You think he does?
I think if he busts up Jose, he fights Max.
You think he will bust up Jose?
I think Volkanovski either goes in and goes reckless abandon and catches Jose and gets him ground and pound like Max does, or I think Jose throws like a flying knee or does his old school antics to where Volkanovski hasn't seen anybody like that. Yeah. Volkanovski fought Chad Mendes, who's a wrestler.
This is a big step
This is a jump. Darren Elkins. Okay, you went over Darren Elkins. Darren Elkins is literally an ox that you could beat to death with a fucking pole. But he will literally fight you the whole round, but he's not going to finish you. Besides that, all the other names on his win streak you don't hear about or their decision wins. Jose Aldo, everybody knows every name on his last fights. They're all top contenders. It is a huge jump, but if he beats Jose, absolutely.
It's a big
jump. It's huge.
Yeah, I think Aldo wins this fight, and I think Aldo wins by stoppage.
I do too. I think this, unfortunately, will be a Moicano situation where he goes, okay, this is a little different up here.
This is still Jose Aldo.
This is still Jose Aldo, even at 32 years old, which is nothing anymore.
Yeah,
and by the way, Jose is on a win streak, so he's pumped up. He's ready. Alexander also is, so there could be a flip of a coin on what happens.
Yeah, I think that a win here is huge for Volkanovski and instantly makes him the next contender. The other top guys here have lost to Jose Aldo, or Ortega just lost to Max. So he becomes the next contender. If you can beat Jose Aldo, you should fight for the belt. So it's a fantastic opportunity for him. I think that Jose is going to deny him that opportunity.
I do too, and you also have to remember this, unfortunately. Jose Aldo might only fight 1 more year. So
why is that? You think he's going to hang it up?
His team and himself have talked about, you got to remember how long Jose's been around. Jose has fought everybody and made highlight tapes for all of us to watch. And Max Holloway to this day says, I am one of the greatest featherweights of all time, but the greatest featherweight of all time is Jose Aldo.
For now, yeah.
I mean, because what he did from the WEC, and granted, okay, he's fighting Uriah Fabers, he's fighting early young Cub Swansons, but he's demoralizing them and just showing them, I'm going to make you not walk the next day, or I'm going to flying knee you in the face and make you bleed open. Jose has always had entertaining fights. Unfortunately, Jose Aldo had his world rocked when he was starched by Conor McGregor.
Yeah, but even then, he bounced back.
To come back,
so
and
well.
that's my other
it's
point.
It's just Max Holloway is also better than him. But it's honestly, it's like over the course of a dozen years or something like crazy like that, the only fighters he's run into that have had a best of him, that are better than him are, well, Conor McGregor caught him.
Yeah.
Maybe he's better than him.
That could have
he was
been
better
anybody.
than him that night.
He was. That's
Max
one
has
night.
proven twice now that he is better than him. But that's it. I mean, like, all the guys he's fought, and he's only fought the best. It's just,
Yes.
He was one of the guys that was just like, all right, keep sending the best guy, and I'll keep beating them. So, yeah, I think that this is just another guy on that list that's going to get sent there and beat, but it is a fantastic opportunity, and you can't discount anyone here because Jose Aldo is not who he used to be. He's still a killer, and he's still
only 32.
The top of the division.
If Jose was 35 right now and he's had, let's say, 2 knockouts within a year of this current year, I'd be worried for him. The Max Holloways, like we always say, yeah, you're going to get knocked out by Max Holloway. You're going to lose to Max. But Jose is not a person that has not been at that high level and know that feeling. He had the Conor McGregor with that knockout. That crushed him. But like you said, he could have gave up, and he could have been almost in a situation like Renan Barão. I was here at the top. I got fucked up and had a mistake. I need to come back. No, I continued to fuck up, and everyone forgot my name. No one forgets Jose Aldo. And like I said, that's a huge props from Max Holloway at his age to say, no, I've done things right now that are unbelievable, but Jose Aldo is the best featherweight of all time right now. But I think, like you said, I know we went over it again, but Alex Volkanovski, huge jump. It's either going to be tremendous for him or he's going to have to step back in line. But regardless, Jose Aldo is going to be talking for another year, going up and fighting Brian again, Max again, Frankie again, as long as everyone stays in the division.
Right. Who else do you want to see fight at the top of the division? Zabit just came off that win against Jeremy Stevens.
And we talked about that last week.
So I think we talked about maybe Ortega for him.
I think Ortega and him is one of the most interesting fights to have while Jose's doing this with Alex. Frankie, I worry about because I know Frankie's older. I know Frankie probably only has under 3 fights left. His last fight, unfortunately, was a win over Cub Swanson by decision. That's not doing a lot in that division right now since he lost to Ortega. But Frankie could also do something crazy.
I would love to see Frankie get the next shot at Max. If Max goes and win or lose for this fight against Dustin Poirier, comes back to defend his title, I would like to see Frankie get that. He was next in line. Something happened with Max, and he couldn't fight when he was supposed to because he tried to take a step. He tried to fight earlier against Khabib and cut weight, and he couldn't. So Ortega stepped in and took that fight.
Yep.
And Frankie lost. And
which was tremendous for Ortega. That was great timing for him.
Then Ortega takes the next title fight. Max is the top guy that has... I mean, he isn't coming off a loss.
No.
He hasn't fought Max yet. I think that Frankie and Max, I would love to see that be the next title fight.
What do you think about in the meantime, though, Moicano comes up and fights Frankie?
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. I think that's appropriate.
And I know that's not completely fair to Frankie, but I think it's perfect for Moicano.
I think it would be fair.
Because Moicano comes in, because you look at Moicano's losses. Jose Aldo and Brian Ortega. Well, I wonder where they're at. Above him getting ready to fight here within the next year at some point.
They both
or
lost
fighting
to
the
Ortega.
champ.
They both beat Cub very recently.
And also, that's an entertaining
they both beat
fight.
Jeremy Stevens recently.
Yes.
I think that does make sense.
I think Edgar and him, it's a very marketable fight. It's a fun fight. And also, look, Frankie wins it. Awesome for Frankie. He's back in contention even more than he already is right now. Moicano wins it. You go, hey, look, Jose, I know what you did. Now I'm back up at the top playing with the big dogs. Let's do that again. Then you could get a Jose Moicano fight happen again if poor Jose loses or possibly loses a championship. And I'm talking a year and a half out.
Yeah.
That's the cool part again with this top. And I agree with you. You get Zabit in this division as young as he is and how much he brings this division on a 5 or 6 fight winning streak right now. I think he does a lot of big things in the next year up against the guys we're talking about. I think he could beat a Frankie Edgar. I think he could beat a Brian Ortega. Jose and Max, again, is the story tell. How do you figure them out?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I'd like to see Max active. Hopefully, I'm hoping this lightweight thing doesn't work out, and he just comes back and tears up at featherweight for a while.
Yes.
but up here, I wanted to see. There's a lot of new fighters he hasn't fought, and like he said, Jose Aldo is the greatest featherweight of all time.
Yeah.
If he wants to become the greatest featherweight of all time, he needs to start fighting all these new guys that are coming up. Yeah,
everybody. So you can't just beat Jose. Yep.
And I think there's a lot of opportunity for him to do just that. And a couple guys are a single fight away from taking that next spot. There are some other featherweight fighters coming up that are going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about Zabit, who had a big win against Jeremy Stevens.
And he's blown through everybody. I mean, he has jumped so significantly ever since.
Korean Zombie and Yair had that fight. I mean, Yair got fucked up by Frankie, but other than that, he's been very impressive. Yeah. Korean Zombie's...
That was a level change for him. That was a huge jump to fight somebody like him.
Mm-hmm. Korean Zombie's always fun to watch. Korean Zombie beat Dustin Poirier.
Yes.
I mean, it's...
Younger Dustin Poirier, but beat Dustin Poirier. I'll agree with that.
And then Kron Gracie, we just saw a fight a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He would be interesting to see in the mix up here.
I think he would be tested very early to see, are you going to be able to make it in this division? Because that was the biggest concern of the Gracies and everyone else is this guy going to be able to come in and throw hands with guys that only throw hands? Like a Jamir Stevens, a Josh Emmett, a Ricardo Lamas, guys that say, I don't need any fundamentals. I want to just take your fucking head off and just wear you down or kill you. I think he brings a new flavor to the division. Obviously, Korean Zombie. Problem with Korean Zombie is, after that absence forever, he's only had one fight in 2017 and one in 2018. It's been a lapse. Now, granted, the Yair fight was absolutely knockout.
Bonkers.
So, after that, with a loss to there, he's still going to fight some. I mean, I would love to see him and Ricardo Lamas. I think that would be an absolutely entertaining fight. Two guys, similar builds, same speed. Josh Emmett, I'm sorry, I don't think he should even be in the top 10 with his wins. Yeah, he beat Ricardo Lamas with that knockout. It was a swing that connected perfectly. That happens. But, he's had some losses also. Ricardo's had some losses to him. Jason Knight, when he was around before he got cut, that's not that big a win. So Ricardo needs some big names on his resume right now. And honestly, Josh Emmett, he needs to fight soon. It's been since February of 2018. So he needs to help his stock, but everyone above, your boy Cub, we've talked about that. Cub desperately needs a win, so maybe fight a lower guy like Ricardo, Josh Emmett. Maybe Yair moves up. Since he had that big knockout over Korean Zombie, fights Cub Swanson to say, hey, you either go home for good, never fight again, or you win, you're back in. I'm not getting back to everyone getting cut from the UFC. I knew that was coming. But I honestly think that's a really money-line fight. Either guy's going to get really big-time movement if they win that.
Yeah, I think that there's opportunity in here as well. We've been speaking about how this division is starting to turn over, and there's some new, very, very good fighters coming up.
Out of nowhere, too. Young, too. Yeah. That's the thing. Yair's 25 years old. He's got a lot.
So there's going to be some challenges for Max moving forward. Do you think Max is the title holder in 2020?
I do, even with the loss, like I said, over Poirier. I think he goes into 2020 with that strap because the next guy in the line is going to be Jose Aldo. If it's not Jose Aldo, it could be Alexander Volkanovski, another guy that's not very seasoned right now with that top caliber. But I do worry about 2020. Mm-hmm. I think right into 2020, you're going to get some new names testing Max that maybe is a different type fighter. And I'm not even talking about Renato or Volkanovski. I'm talking about Zabit. I'm talking about guys like Yair, even the Zombie coming back. You got guys that he has not seen recently ever or at all that type of style. I don't say his belt gets taken, but I think 2020 is going to be even some better featherweight fights just because we're putting new names into the pool.
Yeah, I think that if he is actively defending his featherweight belt, there's going to be all kinds of names coming at him, and I don't know that he gets through 2020 doing that, but I think that, let's say he does have this interim fight with Dustin Poirier and does fight one more time in 2019. I think no matter who they throw at him in this fight, he wins.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would hope it's Frankie. I'd love to see that fight. Yep. But if it's another fight against Aldo or Ortega, if it's Volkanovski,
it's not going to be bad.
I think that Max wins that fight, but I think in the next year there's going to be some other guys that are going to challenge him, and it's going to be several challenging fights, but for now, I see him going into 2020 as the featherweight champion.
Agree.
So as we continue to look forward, next weekend we have Fight Night 147 on March 16th. Features 3 fights we're pretty interested in. The first of those is Volkan Oezdemir and Dominic Reyes, a light heavyweight fight for a potential light heavyweight title contender.
It really is.
I would think. Dominic Reyes is an undefeated fighter.
Yep.
Volkan Oezdemir had a title shot very recently against DC that he lost. But there's a new champion now, new sheriff in town, and he hasn't had to run at him.
No.
He did lose to Anthony Smith, so he's coming off of a couple losses. But if he wins this, then he probably gets one more contender fight, and then he probably deserves another title fight. So I think Dominic Reyes is 1 or 2 fights away, as is Volkan Oezdemir.
I agree, because also, too, is if Volkan wins this, he's going to leapfrog Jan Blachowicz, who just lost to Santos quick. So he's going to automatically move up, even with Jan's loss. He's got a lot to gain here. He's also got a ton to lose, because Dominic Reyes is on an undefeated streak. He's beaten big names like Cannonier, Ovince St. Preux. He beats Volkan, who is, like you said, already fought Cormier and been the top champ fight for him. That drops him down. Dominic Reyes comes up and says, let me go and fight Santos, or let me go and fight Anthony Smith next, which I would love to see. I think Anthony Smith, win or lose, if this Gustafsson happens, I think he could fight someone like Dominic Reyes. I really think if Anthony Smith loses, he has to fight someone like Dominic Reyes to keep his spot. So Dominic has a ton to gain on this, and I think that would be the best thing in his career right now, because he's on a tear.
I agree. I think he gets one. If he wins this, one more fight, and then it's a title fight. I think both of these guys, like we said, might be in that situation.
And Volkan could be the same hand. Volkan has done some crazy things. I know we've talked about it over and over. Jimmy Manawa is not the greatest win in the world. Jimmy Manawa is still a crazy man. He beat Misha, who just got knocked out by Santos. Ovince St. Preux, he's had a decision over. He's really only lost to the guy that just fought the champ, and also the champ originally, Daniel Cormier. So his record is not really blemished. It's just fighting the cream of the crop.
Who wins this fight?
I think Dominic Reyes wins the fight just because how hungry and how many tools he has in his gauge. I think Oezdemir, as much as he trains and tries to change his game, he's all about those big hands, overwhelming you because of his size. I think Dominic Reyes has a better gas tank also. I think he is way in a better athlete than Volkan, and I think he kind of waits, wears him down a little bit, maybe doesn't do a lot of shots, and then once he lands one big shot, he chips away. He's not looking for the absolute knockout. He's looking for a wear-down knockout, where he can put in 17 punches on a guy when he gets clipped by an elbow or something.
Yeah, I think there's more ways that Dominic Reyes can win this fight than Volkan Oezdemir. I think that, like you said, Oezdemir's going to be looking for those big hands, and he's got them. Yeah. He can lay heavy hands and knock you out.
And he can change his story real quick.
Dominic Reyes has more opportunities elsewhere.
Yep.
And that's how I think this fight ends.
Yep, agreed.
I think that the Anthony Smith fight against Volkan Oezdemir was pretty eye-opening.
Yes.
You expect him to be outmatched against DC, but
holes in his game.
Anthony Smith showed that he's beatable on multiple fronts. Yep. That was an entertaining fight.
Yeah, it was.
At the end, it was one-sided, and I think that Dominic Reyes is going to. I anticipate Dominic Reyes winning this fight.
It's going to be a big 2019 for him, I think.
After that fight, there's going to be Leon Edwards and Gunnar Nelson.
Rocky versus the Ice Boy, buddy.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good one. This is another. I mean, we're talking about how deep this division is.
Yep.
And this is just going to be another one of those fights where line them up, and I think it's going to be an entertaining fight.
Well, Leon Edwards I've watched for a while. He's on a 5-fight winning streak right now, I believe. He did beat Donald Cerrone in a decision. He didn't, absolutely make him look foolish, but Leon Edwards is coming up the ranks and very deserving. I also think very similar, Gunnar Nelson has had some tough fights and lost those. Damian Maia, we all know what happens when you get, a hold there, even though that was a decision. Ponzinibbio was a tough fight because he got eye-poked, thought he was affected by it, then kept fighting, and then was dropped. And he told in the interview later he couldn't see. Right. And the last person on earth I want to not be able to see is in front of Ponzinibbio.
And then it was a year and a half after he fought.
And it was a year and a half because he had some injuries. But he did come back out, submitted a big guy, Alex Oliveira. So I like this fight because the styles are different enough, but both guys are aggressive. Leon Edwards is very time waiting. He's had a ton of decisions. He has had some knockouts, though, but I think this will test Leon and Gunnar can we go to the next level? Because after each other fight each other, which are in the top 10, you have the Ponzinovias that you've already fought, the Ben Askrens, the Rafael dos Sanchoses, which is a huge tier jump to where, okay, we're back in contention, but now what do we do?
Right, I agree. The winner of this is in now the next stratosphere. I mean,
yes.
it is. There's a line. As good as this division is, there is a line between like
Several.
6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, this is a big deal. So this will be a good fight.
It will.
We haven't seen Gunnar Nelson fight a bunch recently, but very recently he just fought in December.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get to see him be more active and not take these 1.5 breaks because of
that's not good for anybody's career.
Correct. And then the main event that this upcoming weekend is Darren Till and Jorge Masvidal, and that's
so
a fight
happy.
I'm very interested in watching.
I'm so happy
that's going to be a good one.
And, with Masvidal, I was really excited when they were teasing people with the Nick Diaz situation because that brought Masvidal's name back. Because Masvidal's been out a while. His last fight was losing to Stephen Thompson in a decision, also losing into a Damian Maia decision, and then his last win was over Cerrone when he starched Cerrone at home in Colorado. So those were all 2017 fights. He was fighting a lot and active. Took these years off, recovered, took some time, got a little bit older. He's only 34, though. Masvidal's been in this game so long, you're going to have a guy that has a bunch of legacy, a bunch of experience against someone that's super hungry and crazy, which is Darren Till, who flew up the welterweight ranks by beating guys that were big names until Tyron Woodley. So he was tested. He was finally shown, hey, I can't just come up to the top and swing hands all day and hope everything goes well. I have to have a game plan. I think Darren's game plan is going to change a lot since the Woodley fight, and I think, honestly, Masvidal goes in like he always does, broke. He's going to go in, throw everything, wait, be patient, but if you fucking blink, he's going to put you out. But also, Masvidal's been out for a bit. Darren Till has actively been fighting. He's pissed as how he lost to Woodley. Both of these guys are going to come in like a freight train. They interviewed together for ESPN in the same room. And we're saying, I love how you're fighting. I love that you want to go in there and just trade hands. These guys are excited to hurt each other in a good way.
Yeah, I think Darren Till he's certainly the bigger guy.
Yeah.
I think he has more power. I think he's going to have an advantage standing up. I think Jorge Masvidal is going to try and do strange things.
Yes.
Not just stand right in front of you and bang because Darren Till wins that fight.
Yeah.
But
maybe takedowns. He might go for a lot of takedowns, single
he
legs.
may try and wrestle him. I mean, Darren Till looked like he didn't have wrestling a good grasp of it when he fought Tyron Woodley. But
yeah, I don't think you want to take him on the cage and grapple and do a lot of tie clinching and stuff. I think you keep it on the ground because Till's elbows saw in the Cowboy fight that he can get a hold of you and hurt you quick.
Elbows,
very nasty elbows. It's fast.
Yeah, but that fight is going to be fantastic, and I think that one also is on ESPN Plus.
Yes.
So.
Yeah,
that'll be a good one. And then the following weekend.
Yeah, right into it again next weekend after it.
Yeah, we have a card outlined by Stephen Thompson and Anthony Pettis.
Yep.
And that main event is going to be Anthony Pettis' first fight at the welterweight division.
Yeah.
Stephen Thompson's coming off of a recent loss. But before that, he had just beat Masvidal.
Yeah.
So this is to get him right back on track.
Yeah.
I think that this fight right here is going to be outlined by Thompson's karate style.
Yep.
Most people
like
have
normal.
that very, very hard to crack. He controls distance, moves back and forth very quickly. Pettis is very quick. I mean, he's Showtime.
He's flashy.
He's Mr. Jump off the cage and kick you in your face. So.
He's going to do anything and everything to try to win, which is going to definitely be a test for Thompson because Thompson's so used to your Woodley fights, your Masvidal fights. Having someone flashy like Pettis, I just think the size difference and the distance control that Thompson carries is going to give Pettis a hard time to use his tools. I don't think he's going to be able to do what he does at lightweight that he normally gets to do.
Yeah, I think that Thompson wins this fight. But Pettis is Showtime. He's got the puncher's chance in this one.
You don't want to blink with him.
Thompson is usually the fight that he doesn't win, go to decision. He usually stays out of danger, but
Till fight, he didn't know. He found out real quick the power of Till because he got dropped by Till.
That did go to decision, though.
I know. I'm saying is I don't think he's going to worry about the power with Anthony. I think he's going to have to worry about the dangerous, weird things that Anthony does. But again, like I just said, Thompson might keep that distance.
All right, the co-main event of that card is going to be Curtis Blades and Justin Willis, a heavyweight fight. Curtis Blades is going to be looking to become a top contender if he wins this.
This is a huge win for him. Yeah, and especially coming off a loss to Francis, his backtrack of what he's won. Overeem, Mark Hunt, Alexei Ovanik, big wins. So, yeah, I mean, that jumps him in there. But then Justin Willis.
He's on a big win streak.
Huge win streak.
Yeah, he's coming up the rankings quickly. And this win is a big win for him. I mean, he wins this, and he's instantly a top contender as well.
Yeah, there's nothing that's going to stop that.
You have a prediction on this one?
You know, I've watched Justin Willis fight a lot, but I really think Curtis Blades is the next new thing in the heavyweight division. I think he is sharp. I think he is what they call him, nicknamed Razor. I think the things he does in the ring at that level, he just beats so many guys with his just tactical plans. But in that division, it just takes one hand. So Justin Willis puts a big hand. He's on a fight win streak, like you said. He could change this completely. And Justin Willis is someone that we're talking about next. Maybe he's fighting Derek Lewis.
Right. I mean,
so that could be a huge change in that division. Or higher, especially with Derek's loss. So, I mean, again, we're always redundant. Big things on the line for both of these guys.
And then one other big fight that weekend on the 23rd is who's here for Maiga and Deviation Figueiredo.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, you were close.
So the flyweight division, I mean, if we're talking about Henry Cejudo is the champion, he's having this play back and forth with TJ Dillashaw, and we don't talk about the flyweight division too much.
No.
But the winner of this fight is Henry Cejudo's next fight to defend the flyweight division belt.
It falls right in line.
This is the next title defender. I don't know how long you can have them. Maybe the winner of this fight is Joseph Benavidez, but at some point you have to have Cejudo defend. And if the flyweight division sticks around, this is a big fight for it.
This is the exact example of what can help keep the flyweight a division and not go anywhere. Because you have somebody like Figueiredo that is a 15-0 undefeated fighter fighting another guy at the top that has fought basically everybody in the division. And has had the most recent loss against Ray Borg, and then after that, he was stomping everybody. He's already fought Henry Cejudo. It makes absolute sense. These guys are number one, number two. This is the last crossing step over that does not matter if it's Henry next or it's TJ, if he wants to fight at the flyweight weight limit as a champion. You're going to be seeing these guys, and this is going to be a hell of a fight to watch, especially at that size. It's going to be fast, it's going to be powerful. I do not see that coming out of the first round with those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the reason is I've watched them.
They're so small, though.
They have a lot of decisions and subs. I think because there's so much on the line with this that they just throw hands. Because guys like Dustin Ortiz, Sergio Pettis, those were throwing hand guys that were not at this caliber, and they went to decision. Now you have the two top calibers that beat all those guys out. Fuck it. Let's just get in the middle and rock 'em, sock 'em robots.
Figueiredo, I hope he wins. I hope he continues his undefeated streak. I hope it's unnoticeable. I hope that the champion has to defend against it, and I hope that the UFC
they see how much there is
continues to support the flyweight division. I also don't know, but I think Deus de Guerra is Portuguese for God of War, which is a pretty badass nickname.
That's an awesome name.
So I'd love to see that be the play at least to keep this division moving forward. I think this is going to be a good fight to watch. If this is a boring fight,
it's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt the whole division. If this is a fantastic fight on ESPN Plus, when people are getting into the sport, then this might do wonderful things for the division.
And definitely makes an excuse to say, why in the world would you ever get rid of this division? There's so much entertainment in it. It's bantamweight. It's bantamweights without the power. That's really what it is.
That's a tough sell, man. You don't want to give up the power.
We just found out last weekend. We just found out with the Cody fight that you don't need to have Justin Willis power to knock people out. You can go in there and land one good punch. So I think these type of fights is definitely going to make a big change in this division. It's going to make or break. Yep, you're exactly right.
Big one. So we're going to leave it there today. We're going to be back with you shortly after that event, hopefully.
Man, and then we got together.
One more time after that, at least.
We got to get in. We got March Madness coming up. We got to get as many fights. But again, I'm excited. Every fight card's awesome to watch. There's no borers to me. And I've said that before, but I think everybody lining up is cool.
No, it's been great. These ESPN Plus cards you have, just like last night, there's several good fights on all of these cards, and you're going to see them on ESPN.
The changeover is great. ESPN's done. I mean, to come from Fox was killing it. This ESPN jump now is, with this Plus, you don't worry about missing the fights. I can be gone all day. I just come home, turn it right on.
That's the other thing. Yeah, be able to come home and watch it on your time. Fantastic. Awesome. So, cheers, man.
Cheers, brother.